there's so many more things that encapsulate why that content is important other than keywords.
Welcome to Honest E-Commerce, a podcast dedicated to cutting through the BS and finding actionable advice for online store owners. I'm your host, Chase Clymer, and I believe running a direct-to-consumer brand does not have to be complicated or a guessing game. On this podcast, we interview founders and experts who are putting in the work and creating real results. I also share my own insights from running our top Shopify consultancy, Electric Eye. We cut the fluff in favor of facts to help you grow your e-commerce business. Let's get on with the show. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Honest E-Commerce. Today, I am blessed to have another podcaster on the show. So you're going to get two zany, interesting characters here that give you a wealth of knowledge. Brent Peterson, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Chase. Good to be here.
I'm excited. So Brent is the host of Talk Commerce. And we'll try to link to the show in the show notes. I believe my episode should be out by the time this airs. So we'll have a link in there to hear me on his show. But quickly, can you just tell the audience what they should expect on Talk Commerce? Why is it better than Honest E-Commerce?
Well, I don't think it's better. It's just, maybe it's a little different. I don't know. Like we talk to a lot of founders, we talk to a lot of startups, we learn about their journey, how they got there. I'm incredibly interested in entrepreneurship, so we dive into that a little bit. And then we do explore a lot of the bigger platforms. So we look at Magento, which was where I really came from in that community, but we look at Shopware, BigCommerce, Shopify, OroCommerce, VTEX, whatever that platform is out there, we'll look at it.
Yeah, I would say I try to put on this, level-headed, like there's a tool for everything, and I'm platform agnostic. But then if you listen to anything I say, I'm such a Shopify fanboy. So I think hearing the other perspective of the other solutions that are in the ecosystem definitely makes sense. My perspective is definitely very D2C. I think Shopify wins there, but anytime you're getting more B2B or you're trying to do something that Shopify really doesn't want to do, there's a million other amazing solutions out there. So a tool is only as good as your strategy, I guess.
Yeah, that's very true. And I think your strategy has to be what is going to be the best way to get us to live. That's the first thing, right? And then how can we sell things more efficiently?
Absolutely. I just want to let the listeners know, Brent's podcast is actually great. He spends quite a bit of time editing it. It's definitely more of an audio format. There's a lot of interesting stuff that they do post in there. Some audio gags brought in. It's really like a talk show, an old timey talk show, perhaps.
Maybe, yeah. It's very conversational. I don't have a Ed McMahon, if you're my age, who would be a co-host, but yeah, could be like a talk show. Absolutely.
I enjoy it a lot. So also, you're the host of this awesome podcast. Everyone go listen. You're also the founder of ContentBasis. What does ContentBasis do in the ecosystem? What problems is it trying to solve?
Yeah, I think ContentBasis started before the generative AI boom started. We were using some of the tools that were out there before ChatGPT to help clients build content quicker. And our little niche is that we use actual human beings that are people like you and I. At least I think you are. No, I've met you in person, so I'm pretty sure Chase is a person and not an avatar.
Yes, we met at
eTail
West. Shout out to the lovely people at eTail.
Yeah, they were fantastic.
Making human connections. We are not in a matrix. This is not a simulation.
That's right. So what we do is take we take some content that was generated somewhere. It even could be written by a person, and we do some non-English speaking content and edit it to ensure that it's good for the U.S. audience. But we take that content and edit it, and make sure it's readable. I don't believe that content written by a bot for a bot is where people want to see. They want to see well-developed content. So that's what our core service started as, and now we're moving more into managed AI services, where we'll help clients with whatever that endpoint is. It could be voice, it could be audio, it could be video, it could be text. Whatever that thing is, we'll help manage that, and that could include us just developing content or developing images or developing video or developing audio, or even helping with those private LLMs in the cloud. So think Llama 2 or or stable diffusion where you want to run it on your own and not have to depend on a ChatGPT to get your content.
Oh, so you are maybe positioning yourself as AI as a service, but in the way of we're going to build the solution for you and help you solve your problems using what's out there?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you were to run an agency that helped people get onto Shopify, if you could imagine that, we would be doing the same thing, but helping people to get on to using different LLMs. And think about the idea of both having a SaaS LLM like ChatGPT or having your own private LLM like Llama or Gemini has their own private open source LLM that you can run. It's the difference between those two. So we can either host a private version of that LLM on our own servers on AWS or Google Cloud or wherever that place is, or help you run your own LLM through various means.
Awesome. All right, so let's talk about like a real world use case, right? I'm a Shopify merchant. We're fairly successful depending on what your idea of success is. Let's just say we're doing $5 million a year. We're definitely not struggling to find product market fit anymore. We can definitely have levers we can pull to increase sales. You know, we're a business. We've been around, right? But from a content perspective, I would say our blog is lacking. We haven't really been doing anything there. Is that like a use case, I guess, or something, an exploration where that your team could kind of help me actually build out the content and make it better?
Yeah, absolutely. So, and we have a Shopify client we're doing this for right now. So we can take all the numbers out of your Shopify store. Let's just say we take your past 12 months worth of sales and learn which of your products are selling really well and which aren't selling well, and maybe which products you'd like to sell well. Then we can compare that against Google Search Console and Google Analytics to see where opportunities lie within that realm. Then we can start writing specific content about that product that helps then drive traffic to, say, a blog post that then references the product and ensures that you become a expert in that field. And that extra content, Google is really looking for 40 pieces of content to make sure that you are an authority in that field. So that's where I think that not just the generative part, but the analytical part that we use to feed into our little engine that comes back with some topic recommendations. Then what we'll do is come up with, say, 8 to 12 weeks of topics. It could be about that one product, but more likely it's going to be spread out across a number of different products or different services or whatever things you're offering. Mm-hmm. And then in there, we will write topics or write content that is related directly to that topic.
And just to kind of clarify it for me, and I know the audience probably has the same question as well, you're not just dumping my URL in ChatGPT and saying, give me 8 blogs, right? There's a lot more hand-holding to what you're asking the AI for, and there's a lot more human editing after it, hallucinates out some answers.
Yeah, think about, if anybody used the early days of ChatGPT, it did give a lot of false answers. It also gave a lot of references to things that don't exist. So we would, make sure that whatever is there is readable. The client, of course, is always a subject matter expert, but in some cases that we have subject matter experts that can help to make sure that this is real. And then secondly, if there are referenced items, we will find that reference and post the link directly in the article. So typically, ChatGPT never gives you a reference link to whatever it's referencing. So there is a little bit of extra work in there that is involved in ensuring that reference is there. So think about, all those little steps that you as a merchant have to take to ensure your content is good. We take all those steps for you. And I think the bottom line is no matter where you get content, in the past when you were just hiring a college writer to write your content, if they didn't give it to you, you didn't do it, right? So this is ensuring your content is consistently going up on your blog and that there's no weeks missed. Typically, we're able to deliver content faster than merchants have time to read it often. So depending on how busy your store is, 1 to 2 pieces a week is sufficient. I would say that in the beginning, we started with 5 pieces a week, and it was very difficult for people to keep up with that pace.
Absolutely. Now, I have questions about the SEO implications of this content. First being, I've read, and I'll say the reading titles only, which is the worst way to consume news, that Google wasn't a big fan of generative AI content. How do you respond to that?
I'm 100% agree with that. That's why you have to have a human read it to ensure that humans want to read it before you put it out there in the world. In the beginning, when we started, or when I started, I should say personally, before ChatGPT, the content was garbage, and it was very, I don't know what the word was, but it wasn't good, right? It was very flowery, lots of adverbs, lots of adjectives, and it was very easy to pick out that content that wasn't human written. And even now, like if you were to have a freshman in college write you an article about something they don't know about, it's going to be okay. It's going to require editing. So it typically in that situation, when you have a ghostwriter and you give it to the merchant, they're going to have to do a little editing to ensure that it is what they're expecting. I think our editors get to know the merchant, they get to know the products, and they can help make that process work much quicker, go faster to get that content live. And then in terms of how Google looks at it, I will say that, I've done an experiment. I would encourage your users to type into Google what companies use cricket flour. And it's an experiment that I started 1 year ago, that all I would do is write about cricket flour. And right now I'm still ranking number 1 on it. I will say that in the very, very beginning, when I first started, I did it as a joke. And I didn't edit or do anything from the output. I think I used Jasper or WriteSonic or something to generate an article. Now I do put a lot of work into making sure my articles are correct and that they're factual. But in the very beginning, the first one, I didn't do anything. All the subsequent articles have been checked by me. So I guess the time will tell if Google's going to punish me for generating all this content about cricket flour. But I am number 1 when you search for it right now.
And now this was just an experiment to see if you could rank using generative AI content.
Correct. With humans.
That's amazing. And I just Googled it in a different window, and it you're number 1 and number 2. So now I guess the follow-up question is around SEO and search engine optimization. Creating this content, how does it help a brand or whomever you're working with?
Well, I think the old idea of SEO was really keyword stuffing, right? And Google has moved their algorithm to wanting people to read the content, and then they stay on that content. So that part of how they're seeing how well the content is performing is how long people stay on the content. They are moving away from just keywords. I don't think keywords are the way that our future of SEO is going to go. I think it's important to know that there's words that people are searching for, but more importantly, those words have to be they have to be there to have relevant content. The content just can't be a bunch of keywords. And the old way of doing it was if you're trying to target 50 keywords, you try to get all 50 keywords into an article in a way that's readable. And that's really hard, right? I think it's better to have maybe your long tail version of that search or a shorter version of the keywords in your content. But really, there's a core of what people are looking for, whatever that product is. And so if that product is is a widget and the widget's blue or whatever the thing is, that content should be written about, and then how that widget is and what's the story behind the widget. And there's so many more things that encapsulate why that content is important other than keywords.
That's amazing. Do you have any, I don't know, success stories that you can point to with this content of how it helped a merchant, either sales or rankings or what have you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we started 1 year ago in March. We've had a lot of our clients are B2B, so I can't say their names, but a lot of them are agencies like like you. So we help write content around other platforms and help that platform to become more of an authority in their own space. Not that they weren't already an authority, but part of this is getting it out of maybe the owner's head or the team's head into the public to see and write about what they are an expert in. So in terms of a Shopify merchant or a Shopify agency, there are a myriad of different things that as a Shopify agency you want to be an expert in. Maybe you don't always articulate all those things well to your client. You do it in a sales call, right? But there is a whole plethora of downstream items that you could be writing about that bring people to your website, or at least show that you as a agency have authority in that space. And traditionally, like I said, I've been in the Magento space. I'm very vocal about that. I write on both sides. I criticize it and I also publicize it. So for me, it's very easy to write in the e-commerce space in general, because a lot of the things fit together. Like every store has a shopping cart. Speed matters. There's all kinds of different things that matter across any sort of platform. So I think that the fact that we've had clients now for a full year since our inception of our new company is a success in itself, right? For D2C clients, we have a client now in Hawaii. They're a vacation rental. So we've been able to, and their previous posting were just a paragraph with an image, right? So what we've done now is we've started doing, and it's Kona Vacation Rentals, if you want to look them up, they're on the Big Island. We've started writing a monthly what's happening events blog, and it's very informative and detailed. So even for AI, it's not always super simple, right? And sometimes those blogs take a little extra time to produce. But what they do is they give both an authority and they give some background to why somebody would want to go to the Big Island and rent a vacation rental condo on the Big Island.
Yeah, it's the strategy behind content for your product is so interesting and difficult to crack at times. How to come up with it, say, for if you have a clothing brand and lifestyle apparel, it's rare to see a unique take on how to produce content in that ecosystem, because at the end of the day, you're just putting some words on a shirt, right? But you have to take a step back and really think about what about your business or that makes you unique in that lifestyle element of it, which what you just shared about the vacation rental kind of strategy was like, well, people are going to be looking for things to do when they're staying in these units. Let's build content around that. And I think that's just, that's how you have to think outside the box on these things. And computers think very much inside the box. You still need to be creative.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, really digging into your Google Search Console to find out what are those where are you ranking on page 100? And do you want to be on, is there a reason you're on page 100? Do you want to be on you want to be number 1, right? Or you want to be in the top 8. Finding those things that people are searching for that you're giving an impression of, but you're not being seen. And then trying to drive those clicks, I think is the analytical part of it that I'm interested in. So we give a couple of scores. We give opportunities, which is what I just talked about. We give questions, like in Google Search Console. You can find what sustainability in the t-shirt business is a big one. So, what is the most sustainable t-shirt or something like that? people are asking those questions and they're searching and they're going to find a brand that's giving that. And then the next one is that will give you the new keywords that have shown up in the last 30 days and the lost keywords. So those two things too, if you've lost keywords that you're trying to rank on, that's a great indication of, hey, I need to spend a little bit of time to make sure that I'm writing something about this content to keep myself relevant. The lost keywords are something that you've ranked in the past but aren't ranking anymore. So, and then the last piece of that is, I'm not ranking anywhere. Let's try something new. And that's where my Cricket project came from.
That's amazing. Now, I guess if I was thinking about, tackling content as a strategy for my business, I want to build out this channel. It makes sense to me. What are some indicators in my business that I should be looking for, or what are the signals that I should be trying to spot around that are like, hey, this is probably a good idea. You'd get some good results here.
For content and a strategy, well, number one, start with your PDP pages. If you're selling a product or service, your service page, what are you offering? Look at that. And then how does that relate and how much more content do you have around that? If you have such a niche that you're already ranking number one, I would say double down on it, because somebody's going to come into your space and start, trying to push you around.
They're going to eat your lunch.
Yeah, absolutely. And then to explore other things, explore audio, explore video. I think video is really where a lot of products are lacking. And I know that even having the founder talk about that product and the more time that founder can spend, if you're a smaller brand, that on those product pages have a short video from the founder. And the more unique those videos are and the more targeted they are to that specific product, that video is going to resonate fantastic on your product page. Plus, you can post that video to YouTube. You can have a description in YouTube that links back to your product page. There's so many different things you can do. You could start then socializing that video across TikTok and across Instagram and whatever the other platforms are out there that are going to come next. All those things help to drive and make you an authority in that particular space for that service or product you're trying to sell.
Yeah, and I think that's a great call out. You talked about video and audio. We talked a lot about kind of written word blogs, content for a website, but you can use AI beyond that to help produce video and audio. Have you seen anyone get into producing AI generated podcasts or podcast like content yet?
Yeah, I've thought about it. I've thought about doing it myself. I've actually had conversations with, I use 11 Labs, and it's a fantastic audio tool where I have two voices. And there's just some editing that has to get involved later to put the two voices together to have a conversation. It's only going to get better. And I think that AI generated audio is a great way to give more information. I think that people are always going to want to hear us talk. They're going to want to know that it's a real person. Maybe a newsreader is a different type of situation. But I think, and maybe just intros, and I'm guilty of having, I have a Brent audio voice, and I encourage people to go back, listen to my podcast. You could probably figure out which of the ones that I did as I'm traveling. I do a lot of traveling. So if I have to get a podcast live, sometimes I will throw in, my intro. I'm trying to do that anymore. However, I will say that I'm also experimenting now. Runway ML has this new lip sync version. So I did post some from tweets yesterday with myself and a different voice using lip sync. It's super awkward. But having said that, it's this is version 1 of those generative videos, and it's going to only get better from now on.
Absolutely. No, I'm excited. Now, is there anything I didn't ask you about today that you think would resonate with our audience?
Wow, what didn't you ask me? We didn't talk about running or marathons, but that's probably not going to resonate with anybody's audience.
Yeah, for the audio listeners, there's a picture right over Brent's shoulder of a marathon. This guy likes to run is the simplest way to explain it.
Yeah, I'm on day 700 plus of my running streak, which I had a previous running streak. We don't have to get into that. No, I don't. I mean, I think I'm really interested in Midjourney. I have a project on Twitter right now and on Instagram where I'm doing a famous painting, but it's incorporating a Jack Russell Terrier into it. So you'll see a lot of, and that's kind of, I use something as a baseline. So think of crickets. I know it's so silly, right? But think about crickets for content, but I use a Jack Russell for my images to kind of give a baseline of where that is. And I spent a lot of time this morning even redoing in Photoshop, maybe some Bang Z images with a Jack Russell in it, and it doesn't matter. So, yeah.
No, yeah. Everyone check out Brent's Twitter feed. It is a riot. I am a follower. Where should people find you on the internet other than Twitter, obviously? If I'm interested in the show, where should I find that? If I'm interested in maybe checking out your service agency and learning more about how you can use AI to help them do what they need to do, where should people go?
Yeah, so my show is talk-commerce.com. And I would encourage you could look up anywhere. It's on Spotify, Apple, wherever you find your podcasts. Please subscribe. It's gotten very popular lately, so we're approaching 1,000 downloads a week. You can find ContentBasis.io, ContentBasis, BASIS.io for our new company. That's what's called Managed Machine Learning. And then anywhere. LinkedIn is my biggest following. I'm Brent W. Peterson on LinkedIn. I would encourage you to follow me there.
Awesome. Brent, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Thank you.
We can't thank our guests enough for coming on the show and sharing their knowledge and journey with us. We've got a lot to think about and potentially add into our own businesses. You can find all the links in the show notes. You can subscribe to the newsletter at honestycommerce.co to get each episode delivered right into your inbox. If you're enjoying this content, consider leaving a review on iTunes. That really helps us out. Lastly, if you're a store owner looking for an amazing partner to help you get your Shopify store to the next level, reach out to Electric Eye at electriceye.io/connect. Until next time.